Tonight, Dispatches sets out to track down the truth about one massacre in Kosovo. The challenge, to find survivors who escaped when Serbs gunned down 112 men and boys.
Almost all of these men are dead, ghosts, brought back to life in this video of a wedding party. Now the war has come to Kosovo. These images are all that is left of the men of Little Krushe.
This is a story of what happened in one tiny village in Kosovo. It started here in Krushe, a few hours after the war began, when 14 men staggered through the snow. They sat down, more exhausted than it is possible to describe, and they wept. They said they were the survivors of a terrible massacre that had taken place in their home village of Krushe e Vogel, or Little Krushe.
Little Krushe lies across the Albanian border, on the other side of the Mountains of the Damned. Just 7 hours and 40 minutes after the first NATO strike, the village was ethnically cleansed. But there are so many claims of massacre. What's needed is hard evidence. We set out to uncover what really happened in just one small place. We set out to find someone who didn't just hear of the killing, but saw it with their own eyes. We set out to name the killers. Albania, Europe's poorest country, has had to cope with an avalanche of humanity. Finding anyone from Little Krushe, just 1,000 souls, in the chaos of 500,000 refugees was not going to be easy.
We're looking for people from Krushe e Vogel. We're looking for people from Krushe e Vogel. E Vogel, yeah. Yeah, from Krushe e Vogel.
We go there because they are telling us they are people.
To help me, I called up an old friend, the writer Agim Neza, who knows his way around.
Use the speaker there.
Cruelty cannot be measured by numbers alone. Everyone here, doctors, peasants, teachers, labourers and poets, has their own story of agony. It's hard to take in all this pain. But if we understood the horror of one war crime, it would help to understand the horror that is Kosovo. No one from Little Krushe here. The refugees are scattered the length and breadth of Albania. There are no records, only rumours of where someone might be. A tip-off from a human rights lawyer sent us to a town called Fear.
Hi. Krushe e Vogel.
The rumour was wrong. No one in Fear from Little Krushe.
He knows this person.
Hi. So where is he?
But we did find some refugees from a neighbouring village. When they were hiding in the forest from the Serbs inside Kosovo, they had met someone from Little Krushe.
What did he tell you precisely?
The man said that first they killed the persons, those 110 persons, and then they burned them, but he was very lucky that he escaped because of all this blood who fell under him, made more difficult for the flames of the fire to be on his body.
Or at least they say 100 men were mown down in a barn. The search for the eyewitness they named as Mehmet began. Where do you find a man with burnt flesh? We tried to run a hospital.
No records of anyone from Little Krushe. We talked to every patient from Kosovo. No trace of a Mehmet with burnt skin. The wards were full of the sick, the wounded and the shell-shocked. The collateral damage of Slobodan Milosevic. Naila Danai may yet lose her legs, but the Serb shell missed her 2 children by her side. She counts herself lucky.
She's saying,
And then Naila provided a vital clue. She told us she came from a village next to Little Krushe. In the matchbox was a piece of paper. On it, a telephone number.
Okay, so we've got an address. Smashing.
It provided the breakthrough we needed.
All right, how do you spell it? So the telephone number the lady gave us in the hospital worked, and we're going to Kavaya, which is about an hour's drive from Tirana, to track down somebody from Little Krushe.
All over Albania, families are taking in Kosovars, sharing what little they have.
Hello. Hi.
Ameta Batusha was born in Little Krushe, but moved to another village when she married. She too has been forced to flee her home.
Hi. What has she heard? What does she know?
Djem konte njona. Njona tha mi kanë marrë djemt. Po, e me kanë marrë tha me 2 djemt i kanë marrë. Dytin prap me 2 djemt. Tretin i vetëm, prap djalin nipin i kanë marrë. 8 tha mi kanë marrë. Jemi ardhë veç gratë edhe njëmë, sot e thmija dvoqit. 3 mi kanë. A mi kanë mytë, ako mi kanë që se drita vetëm një, të kjo rasimi më ka metë. E 5 nipa me më kanë metë. 3 vlazën e 5 nipa.
While Hameta Batusha was telling her story of loss, news of another massacre broke in the room next door.
Could you tell us what has happened?
5 people have been killed in their family.
Where are they from?
They are from Selina, for our best. Po kush ju tha tani Selina?
Kemi informacion në radio.
They heard on the radio now that they have been killed there.
It's a long way from Kavaya to Elbastan. Ameta agreed to take us to meet her mother, the matriarch of one of Little Krushe's biggest families. At last, we were about to meet a witness of the ethnic cleansing at Little Krushe. This is all that is left of the Batusha family. Grandmother Batusha, the wives of her missing sons, and their youngest children.
And so we're here to find out is what it was like in Krushe, what happened, what kind of place it was, where be friendly with the Serbs.
Jemi rrit bashk, kushi jemi. Mos ikni ato shumë, mos ikni se jemi kushi, jemi rrit bashk. Që bëjmë gjë. Ajo kur dita në rashur, s'na tha ikni, po në zonën që djemë që një muj, si pa mos, janë dushme. 3 djemë fëmijë dhe 5 nipa, 8 nipa. 3.000 djemë, e qërë që të njësëve, djemve, nipa. Qesham kanë me, djemë burra, kanë shku kërë. Qesham kanë me fëmija, me fëmija. Jem hypne për trektorat huj. Hajtë sa dilni, shkoni sa dash me utin dhej, dash në Albanian.
Once upon a time, little Krushe was a happy place. This is Granny Batusha enjoying the wedding party of her grandson Haji. She was looking forward to having great-grandchildren. This is the bridegroom's father, Rasim Batusha, Granny's eldest son. For 20 years, Rasim slogged his guts out on the building sites of Germany, sending back enough money to build 4 homes for the family and pick up the tab for the wedding party.
Burën Turqë aty, Zaim Batusha, quhet. Afër 100 kusur burra jënë kanë. Ka pas pi 14 vjeqe, të këtërin 80 vjeqe me 7 burra aty.
Ne jemi kanë tubë, në ta gjithë burët, jemi kanë të najtë kajtë tubë. Kërë thanë, hajdi bojnë mu nda. Burët një ndajtën veç, një gratë u dajtën veç. Unë e savë djallin se me dash një pi burët, se me më nashtë para kur shkatimit ishëm.
Prodhuar, kjo mi ka për në 2 djemë pitores, dhe ja shojën 2 dhe e më vranë më të Unë të të vetënor si mami, edhe mu me një djemë, edhe s'jo po shtetën kajtë, që kemi po kurzohë, jush ka shojnë i shalë, qojnë djemë dhe mullë.
These are Vizira's missing boys. Lirimi Batusha, 14. Next to him in green, his brother Burimi, 15. He was mentally handicapped. This is their cousin, Nagim Batusha, 20, also taken. And his cousin, Haji Batusha, the bridegroom, 29, also taken.
The Serbs who came, did they know them? Did they know that, if not their names, did they know their faces?
Oh, Dimitri, shkavi pëshi. Ish vesh militë dhej, automatika. Dimitria, tija. E krej kryt bënë rada.
Da I Dushanit, Dimitria, është dhe
Katonit, krysi.
Dimitria, edhe culi I fet kita jo konë. Polis I veshën. Nikolit.
Did they know of anyone who got away?
Pashti një ka dalti aty, ka pështu. Me Met Krasnici. Me Met Krasnici. Quhet. A I ka thonë, në për gjenazë ku më ra. I kanë shti me një shpi aty, e kemi rjonja, është një katë që është, ka pas pak son.
In the good times, around 400 Serbs and 600 Albanians lived together in Little Krushe. In Kosovo, they follow the tradition of kumar, where, as a mark of trust, one family allows another to cut the hair of the firstborn son. In the village, this used to be common practice between Serb and Albanian.
This all came to an end on March the 25th, 1999, when the Serbs betrayed the spirit of Kumar. Another place, half an hour away, the same horror story. These boys from Little Krushe escaped the selection, but only just.
Tash na mbledhen aty krejt burra grana krejt u mbledhëm dhe u dërzuëm. Na than gratë ndaj veç, burrat veç. Dhe tani na datën veç burrat I nxorën në rrugë. Tani më uli mua më dok se jam më I vogël. Më do. Më uli mua kështu të poshtë dhe më dok më I vogël që jam. Tani nisën të poshtë dhe nëna ime e kushtojti gjunë dhe më lojti mua me gjupë. Baba në gjagjallat, gjyshin.
So many of the men and boys of Little Krushe have gone missing, but that is not proof of a massacre. To establish that, we need the testimony of somebody who managed to survive the massacre, someone who cheated death. The refugees say they met such a man inside Kosovo. They said he had burnt hands.
We crisscrossed Albania for days with no success, looking for somebody who had seen with their own eyes the atrocity at Little Krushe. And finally, we found him. The man with the burnt hands. His name is Mehmet Krasniqi. His scars bear witness to a war crime. We can't say where we found him because his life is still in danger. His family is still at risk. Mehmet told us the Serbs came at 3:40 a.m. It was a highly disciplined operation. They came in tanks, APCs and 15 Serb buses, some marked Niche Express. They rounded up the villagers, separated the men from the women and children. Then the men were marched to the hay barn of the Batusha family.
The oldest was 72, the youngest was 13, the survivors said. One of the men was paralyzed. He normally went around in a wheelchair. He was carried to his death on the back of another doomed man. A second suffered cerebral palsy. He could walk, they said, but only just. A third was mentally handicapped and just 15 years of age. For all of these men from Little Krushe, there was no mercy.
Polisë sërbë të një ndërtesë, sikur kjo. Kur në pushkatuan për nga 2 drejtare e nga dera që I pushkatuan të tërë ata burra, edhe unë e shpëtova nga ajo që hasën nga të 10 minute zjarë mitralezi të rënd, ata edhe futën zjarin nga kashta edhe trangu I misrit, edhe unë isha ashtu duke ndajtër pranë murit. Kur filloi zjarri nga automatiku, unë rash në tokë. Këtu. U futën zjarrin dhe ratymi poshtë, se kisha të vdekurin për mi kokë, e tjetrin e kisha mbrapa shpinës, dhe unë I dhash zot qohëm shtu në kom, dhe I futa duart në zjarë. Edhe dola nga drejtare këtu anash, më mirë të vdes nga plumi, se të vdes nga zjarri. Ka pas njerëz me plagë të lehta dhe me trauma. Kur bërtisnin, une që s'jam çmend aty nuk kam besuar që nuk do çmenden, se ka pas lloj bërtime. Të gjeni aty bërtit. Ka pas njerë prapa shpinës, vetëm krahun e ka pas të futur, ai s'ka mujtë më qu e ka blokuar zjami. Ka pas njerë në kohë, kur me mbulej me gjak, me krejt, me ftyre, me krejt, gjakun e flinë të kështu me një gisht, dhe unë e shpetova nga ajo, edhe ika.
Na mo, kur jemi shku me anaj, kemi një krizma. Të hecë tu, edhe që kemi dorë. Unë ma në kumë ditë për me metin të gjahi, që ashtë di, se më një. Unë me metin, kom thanë, unë nuk mendoj që do të shove një herë. Kom thanë që i kanë vrare, kom fshatit. Kom kujtu më që takona me metin.
Mehmet gave me a precise account of what happened. The Serb tanks came at 3:40 a.m. and opened fire. The villagers ran for the forest. There were around 450 of them. They looked back. They saw the Serbs stealing cars and tractors. They watched their homes burn. They saw a Serb take a scythe to a cow and chop off a leg. They spent a day and a night in the forest under shell fire. On the morning of the 26th, they were rounded up and forced back to Little Krushe for the selection. They recognized 5 of their Serb neighbors: a police officer, Teodor Stancic, Svetko Tasic, Dimitri Nikolic, Sava Nikolic, and Momcilo Nikolic. 112 men and boys were selected for massacre. The Serbs opened fire. The bodies were burnt in the hay barn belonging to Granny Batusha. The villagers told me that a second man had escaped the slaughterhouse. We hit the trail again. It led to Shamil Shehu, our second eyewitness. For years he worked in the village distillery, making raki, the local brandy. His workmate for 38 years was the Serb, Dimitri Nikolic. At the very moment the shooting began, Shamil recognized one of the killers. Shamil identified the gunman as another member of the Nikolic family. The executioner was Momcilo Nikolic.
Valla me tomo, zbesoj me tu po shkët bonat. Sa që me që ta kemi pas jetu, ta më në bo më në mitë krejtë moqin, mos ka kime në një nëmë për të.
One village, one massacre, documented, one of the killers named. How many more little Krushes out there? How many more to come?
Oj, shala që aty në vend tem du me kajt, me met. Në vorë temi, në një shpia djeg, në vorë me qadër. Ma në borë, në shpia djekë, në borë me qadër. Që aty rri, a borë rrinja. Kaj djemë të mi, kaj në vend temi.
Rasim, Granny Batusha's elder son, is the only man left in the family. He has given up his job in Germany and come to look after the wives and children of his dead brothers. He brought the only record left of the men of Little Krushe, the video of the wedding party of his murdered son, Haji.
Tonight, Dispatches is on a manhunt. For 6 months, we've been on the trail of men wanted for a war crime in Kosovo. Some of them are among these men. Tonight we pursue them into the heart of Serbia.
This is a detective story, but not an Agatha Christie. This mystery is not about one murder, set in a drawing room, but 100 murders, set in a tiny village in Kosovo called Little Krushe. The victims were shot in the back, then burnt alive. I'm hunting the killers. It's mid-June. The war is over. Hours after NATO rolls into Kosovo, I'm close on their heels. The Serb forces are retreating, but liberation comes too late for 10,000 murdered Albanians.
Krushe e Vogel? Krushe e Vogel?
Vogel. Qëtu? Që këtu? Po që kesh që kjo është ose me vazhdu rrugës? Po që qëtu unë kesh me kjo do mish kësa dhe po me kjo është këgjohë me sultanat. Ajo në gjohë vasion po i përshejnë.
Our murder inquiry starts at the scene of the crime. This is Little Krushe, a ruin of a village in a ruin of a country. You can't get to the bottom of 10,000 murders. You can try with 100. Little Krushe is empty, abandoned, yet full of ghosts.
This is the aftermath of ethnic cleansing. What happened at Little Krushe I find unimaginable. The murder of virtually every man and boy in this village. In the ruins I find someone who lived through the unimaginable. The pistol in the holster is a toy, but his Kalashnikov is the real thing. In the chaos of war, the child soldier got cut off from his family. He's been hiding in the hills. He doesn't know who's dead and who's alive.
Nuk unë ka shumë mendje, se ka menduar që ka mendohë kështu. Jo në shtëpinë time, po në këtë fshat. Mua më ka pëlqyer, ka qenë fshati i bukur. Tash, sa me shiku, s'kisha të shikoj, gjitha janë bërë shkrum. Si ka qenë ky fshat nuk është me.
The boy said his name was Haidari. He wanted to know, had I any news of his father? I couldn't bear to tell him that he would never see his father again. As soon as I saw the wheelchair, I realized I knew the brutal truth. Back in March, I'd gone to Albania for dispatches. In the first days of the Kosovo War, I heard of a terrible mass murder.
We're looking for people from Krushe Vogel.
After weeks of searching the length and breadth of Albania, we found witnesses to the war crime. Survivors of the murder and the women and children of the dead men. All they had left of them was this wedding party video. 100 men and boys had been ordered into a hay barn and machine-gunned in the back. In May, the evidence dispatches uncovered was handed over to the War Crimes Tribunal at The Hague. 1 week after our programme, Yugoslav President Slobodan Milosevic was indicted as a war criminal for ordering, amongst others, the murders at Little Krushe. During the war, it had been impossible to inspect the murder scene. Now I'm on the spot to begin the investigation into precisely what took place. The trail of evidence begins with a hay barn. But where is it? The village is full of gutted hay barns. One of the first refugees to return is someone who'd actually survived the machine gunning. Everything he owned is ashes. And that is not the worst of it. Shamil Shehu lost 40 members of his family. He knows exactly where the hay barn is. The last time Shamil had taken this path, he'd been forced at gunpoint, along with 111 men of his village. The hay barn isn't here anymore. Instead, just a crater. No bullets, no blood, no bodies. The Serbs had blown it up.
I still find it hard to believe that I'm alive. I wish they'd killed me rather than my sons. Here I lost 2 of my sons, 3 brothers and 5 nephews. Altogether, 40 of my family were killed. Now I have to look after what's left of my family.
This man, Rasim Batusha, is the owner of the hay barn. He's alive because he was away, working on a building site in Germany. Now everything is gone. 22 of Rasim's relatives were murdered here. Among them his 3 brothers and his eldest son.
I found this over there in the middle of that pit. It can't be anything else but a human bone.
Back in Albania in May, the survivors had accused 4 Serbs of perpetrating the murder. The prime suspects were their neighbours. 3 of them are from one extended family, Sava Momchila and Dimitri Nikolic. The other man is fshatit. These are the men I want to track down. The place to start is their homes. It's easy to find the Serb houses. They still have their roofs on. After generations here, the Serbs are gone. Somewhere in one of these deserted homes might lie a clue, something that might put a face to a name. I've got to be careful. The Serbs have left booby traps all over the place. Mines are still claiming lives here. Our first break. Photographs from the Nikolic family albums. There appear to be as many Nikolics in Little Krushe as there are Sweeneys in Donegal. Our second break, a handful of Serb home videos. With a bit of luck, our suspects might have starring roles. Our third break.
Nikolic, Sava. Sava Nikolic.
The Serbs were outnumbered 10 to 1 in Kosovo. They were the ones with the firepower.
Here's the uniform.
Nearly every Serb man and boy in the village was armed and mobilized in the local militia. The Serb militia were careless. They left this behind. It looks like a scruffy exercise book, but it's material evidence. In it are a series of names of soldiers who were on guard in Little Krushe after the massacre. Amongst the names are 2 that are becoming all too familiar, fshatit and Sava Nikolic.
Prva grupa, Raško Nikolić, Borat Cvetković.
And there's another find, a duty rota, another item of material evidence. It's astonishing they've left this behind. This list identifies 24 names, making up 3 militia platoons in Little Krushe. Some we know have form.
Druga grupa, Sava Nikolić, Ranko Nikolić, Sveta Tasić.
The document places all 24 men on militia duty in the village. All of these men know something about the cleanup operation.
Treća grupa, Novica Nikolić, Krunislav Nikolić, Dejan.
Some of them know something about the murders. All are suspects now.
Stanislav Stanković, Stanko Cvetković.
As we press on with our inquiry, every day more refugees are returning from exile in Albania. This is the homecoming of the women of the Batusha family. After 2 days on the road, they're almost there. This is Nan Batusha, the matriarch of the family. The last you saw of her 3 sons and 5 grandsons was when she was forced out of little Krushe at the point of a gun. The last thing the Batusha women heard was the sound of gunfire. They cling to the faint hope that their men are not dead, but held captive somewhere in Serbia. The exercise book and the shoes belonged to Miridia's brothers. She used to look after Lurin, just 14, and Burin, who was mentally disabled. They were murdered all the same. There's no hope now. This man was one of the few to escape from the bonfire of the dead. We found him for the previous film in April, in hiding in Albania. Mehmet Krasniqi is a survivor of the Hayban murder and a crucial witness for the prosecution. Now he's back in Little Krushe. Maybe he can help me. I'd taken a pile of photographs from the Serb houses. I began with a list of 4 suspects. Now I've got 24. But are any of these mugshots of the men I'm looking for? The next step is to get Mehmet and Shamil together to identify the lineup.
Dmitry Nikolic. Momcila Nikolic. Zvezda Nikolic. Sveta Tasic, Krstan.
He was the first to shoot at us. As our families were heading for the mountains, Sava shot at us from his house.
Now we can put faces to names. Sava Nikolic. His comrade in arms, Sveta Tasic. Their friend and neighbour, Momcila Nikolic. And his uncle, Dmitry Nikolic. Now we know what the men on our wanted list look like. We can start to track them down. But what exactly is the evidence against them? Now it's time to look at the Nikolic home videos I discovered in the Serb houses. The last thing I expected was a Serb version of Old MacDonald Had a Farm. Still less a man in a skirt. It isn't easy for Shamil and Mehmet to watch the men who'd murdered their loved ones, but maybe the videos can provide some clues as to where the Nikoliches are now. Dmitri Nikolic in white, the life and soul of the party, and a party to mass murder. Dmitri's betrayal is an epic one. For all his adult life, he worked alongside Shamil in the local wine factory.
I've shared the same loaf of bread with them for the last 38 years. I used to visit those pigs. I stayed with them. I had meals with them. We drank together.
Dmitri was given the honor of Kumar, the cutting of the hair of the firstborn son, by Mehmet's family. They never expected that Dmitri would turn against them. He was, after all, their Serb godfather. But a few months before the war, the godfather revealed his dark side when he made an ominous prophecy. It was after one too many with his Albanian workmates, the brothers of Rasim Batusha.
Last year in September, Dmitri threatened my brothers that if just one Serb was harmed, 100 Albanians would die. And he never said sorry after that. I told my brothers, be careful. Don't worry, they said. He was drunk. But as we say, from the bottle comes the truth, and he was very fond of the bottle.
Making a drunken threat is one thing. Carrying it out to the last man is another. Another video, another discovery. This party, held in '91, was staged to honor the young braves of the village volunteering to fight for Slobodan Milosevic. It was Serbs only. Sava Nikolic in yellow on the right is another of our suspects caught in the frame. The date on this video, September '91, is all important. This is the time the idea of a tolerant Yugoslavia died. In '91, Milosevic broke the fragile bonds that held the people of Yugoslavia together. He provoked a war, first with Croatia and then Bosnia. His aim was Serb supremacy. This year, Milosevic ordered the purging of the Kosovar Albanians. He sanctioned the Serbs to murder their neighbours in Little Krushe. This spring, Milosevic stepped up the Serb repression of Kosovo's Albanian majority. In March, in defence of the Albanians, NATO attacked. It was the excuse Milosevic had been waiting for. Operation Horseshoe. Its purpose? To terrify nearly 2 million Albanians out of Kosovo. 7 hours and 40 minutes after the NATO attack, Serb tanks rolled up this, the Prizren-Jakova road. Village after village was razed, everything of value looted. Then the executioners got to work. The village of Selin, more than 100 dead. Belestverka, 54 dead. Greater Krushe, 40 dead. The tanks entered Little Krushe at 3:40 a.m, March the 25th. We took some of the villagers back to where they'd been to compile the countdown to murder. Our witnesses, Mehmet Krasniqi, who survived the Hayban murders. Bayram Zulfiyu, another man left for dead. Lutfi Ramadani, a third survivor. He lost 2 sons, as did his workmate Shamil. Shpresta Shehu, the village schoolteacher. Her cousin, Lumnia Shehu. When dawn broke on the second day of the war, the villagers were surrounded not only by the Yugoslav army, they were stunned to discover their Serb neighbours were in on the operation too. The roundup took place in this, the Batusha's field. The selection began. Men to the right, women to the left. Here the damned chose the doomed.
Then the police ordered the children to march forwards. One of them was giving orders. You, out of the line. His mother begged, please don't. He's only a child, only 12 years of age. The policeman said, shut up or I'll kill you.
And what was the precise role of their Serb neighbours?
Dimitri and Rada were over there. They both came from Rada's house. They had automatic weapons on their shoulders. Sava Nikolic was over there with Sveta Tasic. The women begged them to release the men. The Serb villagers turned their backs on us to make sure we wouldn't recognize their faces, but we recognized them all.
They marched us with our hands behind our heads to Rasim Batusha's barn. As we went down the path, I turned my head and saw 5 men. Dimitri Nikolic, Zviezdan Nikolic, Sava Nikolic, Sveta Tasic and Momchilo Nikolic. They were all in militia uniform and armed.
When they got to the Hayban, the chosen were ordered to face the wall with their hands behind their heads. The men couldn't see what was happening, but they could hear.
Ka ardhën ai personi si e thirr ke ai Gjoko.
A policeman they called Gjoko arrived.
Ai ka ardhur aty te dera.
Gjoko came over to the barn with a machine gun.
Si e thënë këta me mashinë.
One of the Serbs asked him, "Where have you been? You're late." He replied, "Don't worry, it will only take 2 minutes." He immediately loaded his machine gun. He didn't say a word to us. Then he pulled the trigger.
We heard some shooting. The women began to scream in terror.
They are killing our men and children.
I turned my head very slowly and saw bodies scattered all around the barn. They shot at me and the bullet whistled close to my ear. I heard them saying in Serb, "Good, good."
There was blood all over the place, and you could actually hear it spurting from the bodies. Men who'd been wounded waved their hands in agony.
Then he checked and killed the survivors one by one. Shortly afterwards, they set fire to the bodies.
But there were still men alive in the burning barn.
Some of the men whose bodies were burning screamed in pain. "Oh, please, God, please. Help us, God, help us." But there was no hope for them.
Bayram was lying underneath two teenage boys, Flamur Shahu and Enver Batusha. They were on fire, but still alive. There was nothing he could do for them.
I was trapped under the burning bodies. When the shooting stopped, and the police had gone down the road, I pushed them off and got out of there.
6 men made it across the River Drin and on to Albania, but 106 didn't. The survivors are adamant about the role played by their Serb neighbors in the mass murder.
Dimitri Nikolic was going up and down. He was armed and in uniform. The same with Zlatko Đorđević, Sava Nikolic, and Sveta Tasić. They were the organizers. Sveta Tasić was armed and moved around in his car. He was the one who gave orders to the men in the trucks. He was the one who liaised with the men who surrounded us. The others acted on his initiative. Momčilo Nikolic was with Sveta Tasić all the time.
It's hard to prove a crime on eyewitness testimony alone. In a murder inquiry, the next step would usually be to examine the body. But the killers of Little Krushe burnt the bodies, then blew up the hay barn. Even so, the human remains of 106 people must be somewhere. Two months after the end of the war, forensic experts from Scotland Yard arrive in Little Krushe. They're working for the War Crimes Tribunal at The Hague, but they've been busy. There are 10,000 murders to solve in Kosovo. Their task is to find out who was killed and how. There's precious little for them to do at the hay barn, so they're probing what's left at this second murder site in the village. There's not much to go on. A button, a belt, a smear of blood, a backbone. after another day's long wait, a find.
With that leg of that man.
As the victim's cousin, Shamil has the tough job of making a positive ID. This is all that remains of 6 men, shot in the back and burnt in yet another war crime. The relatives of the 106 men and boys murdered in the hay barn haven't got even this grim consolation. Unidentified bones and other debris have been found by the River Drin. All the clues point to this as the place where the victims of the hay barn murder were dumped. Nan Batusha, Shamil Shehu, and all the others will never be able to bury their sons. The evidence is building, but the killers are still on the loose. We know what they did. Our next step is to find out where they are. To do that, we will need help from the Serbs themselves. The hunt for the killers continues. There aren't that many places where war criminals can go to ground now that Milosevic's writ no longer runs in Kosovo. This is Velika Hoxha, a Serb enclave surrounded by Albanian villages. We've been told that some of the men we're looking for are hiding in this village. They can't go home, they can't go to Serbia, they're trapped. For them, Velika Hoxha has become a prison. NATO's barbed wire is not only there to keep out the Albanians, it's there to prevent suspected murderers from escaping to Serbia. The local NATO troops call this town a nest of war criminals. One thing we do know is that Velika Hoxha is still a Milosevic stronghold. One local joked, the only way out of here is a one-way ticket to The Hague. Our cover story is that we're reporting on the plight of Serb refugees, a truth of sorts. After 2 days, I've run out of reasons to hang around. There's no sign of anyone from Little Krushe. It's time to move on. Then I find the most somber kind of clue, a death notice. The third one is for a Nikolic, Nebojša M. Nikolic from Little Krushe. Nebojša was the nephew of one of the men we're looking for, Dimitri Nikolic. This is Nebojša on his wedding day. This is Nebojša's mother-in-law and sister-in-law. They put up the death notice in Velika Hoxha.
He was only 26. It was a tragedy for our family. We are still upset. What can I say?
And this is Nebojša, captured on the Nikolic home videos I'd already found. He is about to join the crusade for Milosevic's Greater Serbia in the autumn of '91. Nebojša was one of the last to fall for Milosevic. killed by a NATO bomb in the final hours of the war this year in Kosovo. This is Nebojsa's wife, Mirjana, on the same home video. Now a widow, it's the custom she lives with the dead man's family for a year. So wherever Mirjana Nikolic is, the other Nikoliches may not be far away.
And where is Mirjana now?
She's staying in Kragujevac. As a gesture of her respect to Nebojsa, she wants to stay with his parents and help them overcome their loss.
This is Mirjana with her father-in-law, Malenko, who happens to be the brother of our prime suspect, Dimitri. If we can find her, maybe we can locate Dimitri and the others. But she's in Kragujevac, which is in Serbia. It's hard for any British journalist critical of the regime to go to Serbia. I'm banned. We're going to have to enlist the help of someone who isn't. Meanwhile, in Little Krushe, another clue turns up. A phone number left behind by chance. It belongs to a Serb policeman, Teodor Stancic. All we know about him is that he was on duty when the killers came into the village. It's a lead we're following. In Sarajevo, in Bosnia, we arrange a rendezvous with a sympathetic Serb journalist. She volunteers to help our investigation. She cannot be named for her own safety. Her first job is to check out Stancic's phone number.
Molim.
Dobar dan, gospodine Stančiću. Je li to gospodin Teodor Stančić?
Jeste.
Dobar dan, ja sam novinar britanske televizije i bila sam nedavno na Kosovu.
Aha.
Isuf Hajdari nam je rekao da se taj dan, da je on svjedočio ubistvu preko 100 ljudi, preko 100 ljudi masakrirano.
Joj, gospođo, ja sam bio tamo, ali ja o tome pojma nemam.
Jeste mogu pretpostaviti da se desi takve stvari?
Gospođo, rat je bio. A rat je jedna strašna stvar. U ratu svaka ličnost je posebno za sebe. Ja samo znam da sam ja i ovi ljudi što su bili apsolutno čisti. Moje savjesti i moje duše su vrlo čisti.
Su samo desile grozne stvari gdje ste vi bili?
Gospođo, učestvovati direktno to je nešto sasvim drugo. A biti tamo i to je opet nešto sasvim drugo. Gospođo, pa nisu svi vojnici ratni zločinci.
To je istina.
Stancic won't meet us. So we're sending our Serb colleague into Milosevic's Serbia in search of the men who we know have a case to answer. Dimitri, the patriarch. In his house, the Serb arsenal was stored. His eldest son, Zvezdan, he's placed at the hay barn. Dimitri's other son, Krunislav, also served in the militia at the time of the murders. All are on the run now. It's now August in Little Krushe. Hate is in the air. What's left of the evidence is going up in smoke. Luckily, I had got to the photographs and the videos in the nick of time. This was a Serb house in June. This is now. Revenge burnings, revenge murders. Scores are being settled all over Kosovo. Now our Serb colleague is filming in Kragujevac, Serbia, a dead-end town of 400,000 with 140 Nikoliches in the phone book. A lot of legwork, 2 weeks on the beat. If you want to find a criminal, you ask a policeman. That's what she did. According to the local cops, they've issued new ration coupons to a family from Little Krushe. They're staying up this cul-de-sac, Franja Zahara Street, number 6 to be precise. This is a location not for fancy camera work, but for the utmost discretion.
Proste, gospođo, molim vas. Jesmo tražim porodicu Nikolić. Aha, ovi su iz Kosova došli, Dimitrije i Zvezdan, jeli. Broj 6, kako?
Ovo je broj 6, jedino oni su iz Peći, možda su kod njih došli.
Ja. Dobar dan, gospođo. Porodicu Nikolić sam tražila. Nikolić, porodicu iz Kosova.
A ovdje?
Jesi tu kod vas?
Tu nisu, tu priči smo u gostima.
Pa ja sam to sad htjela vidim kao otišli su, pobjegli su, nisu ostali tamo da vidim gdje su sad i što rade.
A oni su iz Male Kruše, nisu iz Očevi.
Ja.
Iz Male Kruše su kod Prizrena.
Aha. Kako su imena?
Trunislav i Zvezdan.
Koji su godišta? Meni su neki stari.
Oni su, brat mi je 61. a ovaj Trunislav 65. 66. Pa jedan mi brat radio kao vatrogasac, jedan u Kosovo vino. Ima otac mi se stari isto u Kosovo vino radio.
Kako se on zove?
Dimitrije.
So this is Dimitri's sanctuary, his daughter's place. This is where he sleeps safe and sound. When we went back, they'd obviously been alerted. Suddenly no one was prepared to admit they were there. But Kragujevac is their base. We found the perpetrators, but for now, they're untouchable. War crimes investigators are barred from entering Serbia. Milosevic himself has been indicted as a war criminal, accused of ordering the murders at Little Krushe. So long as Serbia is a rogue state, Dmitri Nikolic and all the others with blood on their hands will remain free men. Five months after the murders, the human remains of the few victims found are laid to rest. Everyone from miles around makes it their duty to pay their respects.
My sons are all gone. What can I do? I can do nothing. Look at the state I'm in. I wish I was dead. I can't bear it anymore. What can I do? My sons are dead. Why should I still be alive?
I cannot stand the sight of the Serbs anymore. They killed 40 members of my family, over 100 from our village. They took a 13-year-old from his mother's arms and killed him. How can we live with them after that?
For Rasim Batusha, who lost his son and 3 brothers, the betrayal of Dmitri Nikolic and the others is a mystery.
I would like to ask Dimitri, why did you do this to me? Have we ever harmed you? I want them brought to the Hague and punished. That's the kind of justice I want to see.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله بداية الفاتحة.
So this is the final reckoning. 100 dead men, shot, burnt and dumped. Some of the willing executioners named, identified and located. For now they're at liberty. But one day that will change. Someday justice will be done.